everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today I am here with my TBR for April. And for April, because my TBR is out of control, I will be participating in Katie of Books and Things April TBR Clearout Readathon. So this has a couple of prompts. The last time I did this, I was not nearly as busy as I currently am. So I have made my TBR slightly smaller and more manageable, but still following the prompts to try and reduce my TBR a little bit at least. Our first prompt is to simply set a TBR clear out goal. Honestly, my only goal is to participate in the readathon. I'm not even going to say finish. I want to participate in the readathon and see how much I can get done. The next prompts come in pairs. So the first is to pick a book that has been on your TBR the longest. And there are many books that fit this prompt, but the one I think I'm going to go with this time is The City of Tears by Kate Moss. And this is actually an arc of The City of Tears that I won from Goodreads in February of 2020. And I still have not read it. And I will tell you more about why later on, because I have used this book for another prompt as well. But this book follows, it is a sequel to, what was the name of the first book? The Burning Chambers. Sequel to The Burning Chambers, which took place in France. I forget exactly when, but it follows the conflict between the Huguenot Protestants and the Catholics, and we follow particular members of a family and young people who fall in love during the conflict, and it's a big sweeping saga. So this follows on from that first book. The natural opposite to that prompt is to pick a book that has been on your TBR for the shortest amount of time. And one book that I recently picked up and that you'll be seeing again in a book haul towards the end of the month is Falling Hard for the Royal Guard by Megan Clausen, which looks like a delightfully fluffy romance book about a young woman who I believe lives at the Tower of London and then falls in love with her own royal guardsman, and things ensue from there. It sounds really sweet and delightful, written by an author who has personal experience of all of those facets, so I'm really fascinated to see what living at the Tower is like and get an insight into protocol for royal guardsmen and those who live at the Tower. I think this could be really interesting, in addition to being a lot of fun. The next pair of prompts starts with read one of the biggest books on your TBR. Now, I am still teaching for the majority of April. I have 1 week off in the middle. So, if I'm feeling ambitious during that week, I could try to read what is arguably the biggest book on my TBR, which is The Eighth Life by Nino Haratishvili, I think, who is a Georgian author. I believe this was first published in German, though, and then translated to English. And it's a huge family saga over possibly a century, and there's a chocolate recipe involved. And honestly, I'm interested because I know nothing of Georgian history, Georgia the country, not Georgian the English period of history. So I'd be really intrigued to learn more, and I do want to read this eventually. However, it is a brick of a book. How long is this actually? 935 pages, so quite a monster. If I'm feeling ambitious, this one will fit that prompt. If I'm not feeling terribly ambitious, then I will be tackling Phineas Redux as an audiobook. No, it's not the longest thing Anthony Trollope has ever written, but let's face it, he rarely writes short books. So I could, when I finish my other two audiobooks, go back and listen to this as an audiobook throughout the month of April, and at least make significant progress on it, if not finish it. The opposite of that prompt is to then pick one of the shortest books on your TBR. And for this, I've pulled two. One is objectively shorter than the other, but I have been feeling called to read the other at some point. So I could do one or the other. I might end up doing both. The objectively very short one is The Wood at Midwinter by Susanna Clarke. This is a tiny little novella set in the same world, I believe, as Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. And that's really all I want to know. It's so short, I don't think I could get away with knowing anymore, but I'm very excited to read that. Or, not as short, but still relatively short, is If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. This is a relatively small novel about two young lovers who are a black couple, and the young man is thrown in jail for a crime that he did not commit. Meanwhile, his girlfriend is now pregnant, and it's how the two of them and their families deal with everything going on in their lives and how they decide to move forward. And I have to say, I didn't enjoy Giovanni's Room because I think the narrator hated himself so much. It made it very uncomfortable for me to read. But I'm hoping this will change my opinion about James Baldwin as a writer. I don't foresee that being an issue with this book, based on what I know about it. And I hope I'm right. The next pair of prompts will go back and answer some of those questions you might have about me not reading The City of Tears. Because the first of this pair of prompts is to read a book from your TBR that you fear you've lost interest in. And we're back to The City of Tears. I never got around to reading this because I won the book, then realized that it was a sequel and I had not in fact read book one. I managed to track down a copy of book one. It took me a month or two to get around to reading it. Finally read it because they are not short. And it was good. It was good. It was just good. But I didn't feel immediately called to find out what happened to the characters afterwards. So that's why this book has just been languishing on my TBR. And over the years, that call to find out what happened to the characters has not gotten stronger. So we'll see. This could prove me wrong and suck me in and be a fabulous read, but we shall see. On the other hand, pick a book from your TBR that you are very excited to get to, and I pulled Tears of the Wolf by Elizabeth Wheatley. This is another recent purchase that, again, you will see in that book haul towards the end of April. And Elizabeth Wheatley is someone I knew first as a content creator. She is quite active on TikTok and YouTube, doing sketches about being a reader, but also she is an author herself. She has self-published an entire fantasy series, and this is her newest release, which is the start of a completely new series. This is a Viking-inspired fantasy series. In fact, everything she writes is Viking or Anglo-Saxon inspired, which I find really cool. This one really called to me with the Viking elements. It's about a widow who gets married to another warrior for protection. It uses the marriage of convenience trope. I'm assuming they grow to fall in love with one another. He is a very loving and protective sounding man. There is a telepathic dog involved. It just sounds really delightful, and I love her as a human, so I'm really hoping that I love her writing as well. If my description sounded a bit odd, I will read the description on the back because I think it's a bit more coherent than I was. After the murder of her child, Bryn of the Istovari wants nothing more than to escape the shackles of her birthright. As a sorceress and the last of a once great bloodline, many still seek to use her for their own schemes. Bryn will do anything for the chance at freedom, even if it means marrying an upstart warrior from the far north. Cynric needs a wife, but not just any wife, a sorceress. Having recently reclaimed his inheritance after a youth spent across the sea, a sorceress will bring security and legitimacy in his estranged homeland. A marriage gives both Bryn and Cynric what they want: for now. In the far northern reaches lies a land ruled by pride and strict codes of honor. As Bryn and Senric struggle to navigate the aftermath of their hasty union, they soon realize that rival factions within the kingdom are on the verge of war once again. Alone, they will be destroyed by the coming storm. Together, they might stand a chance. So I am very excited to pick this up, and I hope I love it as much as I think I will. So those are all of the books that I hope to read in April and that could fit these prompts. Let me know down below if you are participating or if you are reading anything that you are particularly excited about. And until next time, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye everyone.